For the first time in 2025, it's a Moss Football Thursday because we've got the greatest 5-day stretch of football coming up in front of us. The whole crew is here. TJ, Vegas, Mac, and myself. Hope everybody had a happy and healthy and safe New Year's and holiday season. Boys, how was New Year's Eve? You guys are both upright. Mac, you're still wearing Red Sox stuff. That's a positive, at least, I think. Maybe.
Oh yeah, they, interested in everybody in the Major League Baseball is coming to Boston. At least that's what you heard. But New Year's is always a lot of fun at our house. We start grazing early in the afternoon on some cheese and crackers, and we make our way from cheese and crackers to shrimp. And then, of course, Mama prepares the big meal for us that night. We had prime rib, we had crab. And it was absolutely amazing, and we had a great time.
Excuse me while I wipe my leg off. TJ, how was your New Year's Eve?
It was definitely not as good tasting as Max, but you know what? It was what it was, and I was able to make it through. So I count that as a win for this year.
Not really sure how to transition after my last comment and you inserting it was not as good tasting as Max. Get that damn cup off the screen. And before we go forward, we like to have a lot of fun here, as everybody knows, but our thoughts, our positive well wishes with everybody in the Southern California area right now. It's affected by the tumultuous and ridiculous fires that are going on. Hopefully we get some relief here pretty soon. TJ, I know you're close to the area, obviously not in a danger zone, but I'm sure you've seen a little bit of it just in your travels. And obviously we've shifted some of our videos inside because God forbid we have to do a video outside in the wind. There's people with way worse situations going on. But what's it like down there right now?
Yeah, it's messy, man. It's windy and messy, but we keep pushing through, and the people here are very resilient. They're coming together when they need to. And so that's a good sign. And, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, but right now, the only question is what do we have to do to get things back to normal? And that's the number one goal right now, is getting everybody safe and back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where sports does take that secondary role to life here. So hopefully if people or you are watching this and you are affected by that, we can give you a little bit of relief in a tough time right now. But boys, as we go forward here, and it starts here in just a few hours, man, we've got championship football, playoff football, if you will, I should say. We're not quite at championship level yet, but for the next 5 days, we're locked into this, and it starts tonight. We're going to take you as close as we can to kickoff of the Capital One Orange Bowl between Penn State and Notre Dame. But let's get started first. And I'm going to go around the table here, guys, before I share my thoughts. And we'll go right back to you, TJ, before we have Max takeaways on this. The quarterfinals. Give me your top 2 takeaways from the quarterfinals that you saw, TJ, because we're back in the same spot here. We didn't get the greatest group of games. Mm-hmm. What were the 2 things that stood out to you from the quarterfinal round of the CFPs?
Ohio State looks freaking incredible. And I don't hear anybody asking for Ryan Day's head on a platter anymore. But so it's amazing what 2 blowout wins will do for you, and to re-energize the fan base. So that was one thing. And the other was Texas is way fast, like super fast. And so that speed is going to create problems come their next game.
Mac, what were your 2 takeaways from before I deliver a message to a certain college football fan base here?
My first one was I was impressed. I was impressed with a couple of things. I was impressed, like what TJ said, with Ohio State. I mean, let's just be honest, that the last 2 weeks, really, really good. I was impressed. I'm just going to say it. I know they didn't win the game. They could have won the game, probably should have won the game, but I was impressed with ASU. They showed so much in that game. I mean, we all watched it. We all said about the third quarter, this game was over. That was muttered a lot at our house. Believe me, this game was over. And then all of a sudden, boom, they were right in there. There were twice in this game, really one play away from advancing. So impressed I was. I was also disappointed. Let's just be honest. Oregon didn't show up. I'm not quite sure why. I was really disappointed in Oregon, and I'll be honest with you, I was really disappointed in the way Texas played. I mean, yeah, they may be fast, but that team did not impress me. That's nothing against ASU because ASU played great, but I was really disappointed in both Texas and Oregon.
Yeah, speaking of the Oregon game, let's get the elephant out of the room right away, because those of you that follow us, we appreciate you. At Mike Arana Show across all of our social channels, everything but Snapchat. Why, TJ?
Because Snapchat sucks.
And
I forgot the second part.
We're not 12. That's why. So
that's
I dropped my predictions, and in last January, about a year ago, almost to this date, I said that I thought Oregon was going to win this year's national championship, which is obviously not going to happen, and multiple ones for years to come. I still believe that's true. But the Ohio State fans, listen, I don't know why any of you in Columbus don't have internet or television that you had to. Your comment on our video was update. I get it. Talk your shit. They dominated. They absolutely, from the jump, dominated Oregon. Oregon looked lost. They looked like another one of the teams that had a bye, with the exception of the aforementioned Arizona State from UMac. All the teams that had the bye, and that's a whole different story for a different day. Oregon was never in that game. But is there not, in all of sports, a more entitled, self-righteous, pompous fan base than Ohio State? Like 3 weeks ago, you guys all wanted Ryan Day's head on a friggin' platter. And then because you won 2 games in the college football playoff, now Ryan Day is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and Ohio State. And no, I'm not going to give you the first 3 letters of how you want me to say it. There is no more arrogant and pompous fan base in all of sports, I would say, than the Ohio State fan base. And they came out of the woodworks. They crawled out from under their rocks, everything else. And now all is fine in Columbus. What happens if they lose the Cotton Bowl? Ryan Day going to be your guy to get fired? I don't know. But listen, we're not touts on this show. We don't sell our picks. We never will. When we do a pick video, we tell you why we think so-and-so is going to win and our logic behind it. You can ride with us. You can fade us sometimes. Like the guy who was doing all of our Thursday night videos this year, you could have faded the hell out of that guy and made a crap ton of money. But we're not. That's not who we are. We're not handicappers here. We're going to make wrong picks. So all of you out there with 100% success rates in making your picks, feel free to email us, mikearanashow@gmail.com. Send us your 100% pick percentage resume, and then we'll hire you. And I'm basically talking to everybody in Columbus who came out of the woodworks after the other day. I agree with both of you guys, and I'll go back to you here, Mac. I don't know what it is about Ohio State, and I'm coming back to you, Mac, because this is something that you've said repeatedly this year. Sometimes it's a good thing to lose a game. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a really good thing to get your ass kicked on your home field by your most hated rival, and it looks like that might be the case for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was a wake-up call, without a doubt. This is not the team we saw against Michigan or even the last couple of weeks before that. I don't know what they did, if they just had a little more trust in their offense. But, I mean, the last couple of weeks, these games have been over by the first quarter. I mean, let's just be honest. And I mean, it's been that quick. It's been lightning quick. And it's honestly, I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the season, isn't this what we expected, though? Isn't this supposed to be Ohio State's year? I mean, after everything that happened last year and kind of debacle at the end of the year, it's like this. We kept saying Ohio State, this is going to be their year. This is going to be their year. Obviously, before we knew even Oregon was going to be part of that conference. But listen, I mean, they're right where honestly they kind of feel that they probably should be.
Yeah, and it's, TJ, it's one of those things that, like, bought and paid for. You can say what you want. I'm so sick and tired of all the whining and frigging crying about there's no loyalty to schools anymore, and it's a business. What should have been a business a long time ago. Let's get over that now. It's money. Money is why this tournament went to 12 teams, and it's probably going to go to 16. And we'll get into all that after this is all said and done. We've taken the approach on this show of, hey, let's enjoy what's happening in front of us right now before we start to move everything. And to all of you out there that think next year they're going to get rid of the top 4 seeds, have the automatic buys and everything, nothing's going to change next year. It's going to be stuff that's going to be on the table. But Ohio State is trying to buy and pay for this. I don't have a problem with it. Ohio State went into this year with this expectation, as Mac just said. I don't have a problem with it. TJ, do you?
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly.
You know, it is. And look, some schools are playing with a more stacked deck than other schools, and they're going to possibly reap the rewards. I have no problem with what Ohio State is doing. I also agree with you that they are entitled as hell. In fact, I think they, when the football season is over, they become Vancouver Canucks fans because they are just as delusional as Vancouver Canucks fans. So look, they played that Oregon game to a T. They came out with their asses on fire. They did everything that they had to do. They got out to a huge lead and the game was over. So big ups to Ohio State, right? They did everything they had to do. But yeah, you're right. And let's stop calling this. I think I've told you this before. Let's stop calling it things that it's not. This is a straight up business deal right now. And, let's see what happens. And, and then we'll go into 2025 and watch. I mean, I don't know what to say because you're exactly right there. Like, let's see what happens. And then next year we'll see what happens. And then for 2026, who knows?
Yeah. Cause it's going to take an entire vote of everything to make a change here. And that's not going to happen just overnight as much as the SEC might want it to. But when we look at this and you look at this matchup and I only had one takeaway from the quarterfinals before we dive into the Cotton Bowl here. And it was Texas and how adaptable to any situation that Texas has really shown us they were. I can't wait for either one of these matchups, including the one we'll talk about here as we take you right up to kickoff of the Orange Bowl with Penn State and Notre Dame. But this Cotton Bowl game is going to be a fantastic battle, and I think it's going to be a war. And there's a lot of people that think this is going to be one-sided, Mac. Right now, Ohio State 5-point favorites, over-under hovering around 54.5 here. And my first thought on this matchup, when I break it down, is I've got the same quarterback here. I've got about the same running attack. Obviously, the edge when it comes to an offensive standpoint, I think you have to give it to Ohio State when you get into the skill position players because Jeremiah Smith is a badass.
I think one thing that's keeping it close is going to be the fact that where they're actually playing it, and that's obviously in Texas. And I think that helps. It's not a home game, but I mean, for the most part, it basically is. And I think that's why the line is kind of where it is right now. I think if this was I'm going to just say it, at a more neutral site, I don't think would be all that close, quite honestly. For me, I mean, we said it, Ohio State's, they've come out of the chute with their with their foot on the gas pedal. And this game, really, for me, when I start looking at it, is going to be right about the first quarter. One of the things I said about Texas is that and we saw it in the ASU game, first quarter, they can score quick and they can score often. Ohio State can too. So which team is going to get the advantage early in this game? I think that's going to tell a lot about where this game is going to end up.
Yeah, and TJ, we talk about this a lot from a betting standpoint here, and I think a lot of this line, I think most of this line, if you ask me, and I'm not, again, like Ohio State fans are what they are. This is a damn good football team. So again, no shade being thrown here, but we talk about from a gambling standpoint, when you look at these lines, recency bias. And I think we're getting a lot of recency bias here on how damn good Ohio State has looked in the first two games, Teach.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with Mac too. I think the spread is also a result of where this game is being played, because you got teams, you got a team in Texas that gets to spend an extra night in their beds versus a team from Ohio State that needs to travel a little bit earlier. So I think that's going to make a little bit of difference in that play. You also have two teams that have in the past couple of weeks started off quickly. That from a betting standpoint, that makes me look at this and takes it from maybe an over under at 54.5 to a first half of 27, 28, because that based on how they start, that could be a very easily attainable point value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess what I'm gathering from you two is you guys think if this was on a more neutral field that Ohio State would be an even higher favorite?
Oh, absolutely. I really do. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I would go as far as say that they would be double digit favorites. I really think they're that much better. I've liked Texas all year, but I mean, after really, really watching them, there's a lot of questions. I mean, especially with that Texas offense. I mean, if this is a 100-yard dash, Ohio State wins this by what? A ton. It's not even close. And that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't think Texas offensively is going to be able to compete and keep up with Ohio State.
Tej, are you on that same plane there?
Well, I saw how Texas started the game against ASU, and I think I even told you guys, this game's over. I'm done. I'm going to go mow the yard or something. This is ridiculous. But then when the thing that concerned me about Texas, though, is when they had a chance in the fourth to put a game away. Yeah, ASU's mounting this comeback. When they had a chance to put the game away with a drive, they couldn't do it. And that's a huge concern, because starting fast is nice, and being at 14-14 after one period is nice, but there's still 45 minutes left to go, and you still have to perform for the rest of the game. I do think that if this game was, say, in Pasadena or if it was in New Orleans, I agree. I think Ohio State's 9-10 point favorites. I'm not saying that they would cover it necessarily, but I would have if I saw that line at -10, yeah, it seems about right.
And that was my biggest thing, is that Texas had opportunities and didn't tack on. They just kind of fell asleep. Now let's give some credit to ASU and the ASU defense. And if that's what we're going to do, if we're going to give credit to the ASU defense, we're talking about an Ohio State defense that's way better than the Sun Devils defense. So again, we've talked about it. I mean, obviously Texas is going with Quinn Ewers. I mean, unless something happens, he's going to be in there. They did not even budge, and I don't think Manning even played a snap in that game. Not that I remember. So they're kind of set on what they're doing. I wasn't impressed at all. And I'm telling you, this Ohio State defense we know is better, I think, than ASU's defense. And if that's what ASU was able to do, if they were able to, in essence, shut them down, what is Ohio State going to do?
My thing here, guys, is what is Will Howard going to do against the Texas defense? That's more of where my eyeballs have kind of gone to this matchup here. And it's like, Will Howard has looked good. Chip Kelly's dialed up the offense really well for him, as after that Michigan game, which was an abject disaster across the board for everybody associated with Ohio State. And Howard's looked very comfortable. Kelly's put him in some positions to make some high quality throws, a lot of options there. But I don't think Ohio State has played a defense anywhere near as good as Texas, TJ. And that's where I think that with it being at Jerry World, which obviously there's nothing else going on in that place right now. We'll get to that in a second. But, I think the home crowd, I don't really think it's going to be a distinctly home field advantage, if you will, because Ohio State fans, they do travel. I give them all the credit in the world for that. I think you're going to have a pretty split neutral field advantage here, but I don't think Will Howard's seen anything close to what Texas's defense can do to him.
Only if he's gone against his own defense in scout drills, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, Texas is that was, like I said, their speed in the first quarter they were snuffing out routes and they were snuffing out the running game. And I was just sitting there going, what's ASU going to do now? Because this team is just swarming to the ball. And so, yes, I agree with you. This is going to be an opportunity for Ohio State. And I'm really interested to see what they do with Howard and Smith here.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a couple of times, Mac, this year and we haven't seen it in the playoffs so far, but Ohio State's inability to start games fast through basically the entire regular season. Again, the last 2 weeks, it's been different. But if Ohio State gets into one of those sluggish, slow starts here, and you're going to get a very Longhorn rowdy crowd at the beginning of the game because Texas does what they did to ASU, how does Ohio State respond to that? And that's, I think, the first 2 possessions of this game is going to go a long way to telling us how this game goes.
You know, we get to watch Ohio State a lot this year. They were like the Fox game of the week. One of the
big
things
Ohio State kickoff.
Right. I mean, what they did is early on in the year, they tried to establish the running game. It took them most of the season to realize that, hey, listen, we don't have the offensive line to actually have a good running game. Mm-hmm. And so what they did is once they got this demolished by Michigan, they said, okay, let's try it the other way. Let's use our strength. And that's what they've done. They've used their strength. They've used their passing game to actually set up their running game later in the day. And that's where they've had success. I mean, it's took them the whole season to kind of figure it out. But I think that's where Ohio State has made that big change. They've switched. They're not trying to run the ball anymore. They're forcing the ball down the field. It's exactly go back and watch that Michigan game. They didn't force anything. We talked about it. I don't think they threw many passes over 10 yards. Now they're looking to extend that field, and I think honestly that's been the difference.
Yeah, and Emeka Egbuka, he's the one that doesn't get a lot of the talk, and he's really damn good too. He's going to have a fantastic pro career. I fully believe that. But Jeremiah Smith gets all the love there, and then you've got the backfield duo of Henderson and Judkins. But I really think as we move into our picks here, and we'll have more on our social channels on Friday before this game kicks off at Mike Arana Show across the board there. But guys, I'm going to take Texas with the 5.5 here because I'm going to bank on the way Texas started that game against ASU and thinking that we see that same defensive performance from the Longhorns in this game. I got the Longhorns plus 5.5. Mac?
All right. Well, you know what? I think you're wrong. I think Ohio State.
Don't go against the Minister of Culture. How dare you?
I think this is Ohio. I think this is Ohio State's game. Like I said, I know. I think being in Texas, they'll keep it close. But I'm telling you, I like Ohio State in this game. Pedal down, offense is going. I think they win this game. I'm saying 9 or 10 point swing for Ohio State.
TJ, I know you've got a play on the over or under here. I'm not touching the over because of the capability of the Texas defense. What do you got, TJ?
I'm expecting this game to go over as far like I'm taking the first half over for sure because I expect both teams to get off to a quick start and kind of feel each other out. But as this game goes on, I think it's Ohio State's. I think it's Ohio State's game. The only defense that I've seen that's better than Texas is Ohio State. And so those same questions that you pose about what Howard's going to do against the Texas defense, I run them right back and say, what's yours going to do against the Ohio State defense? I like Ohio State.
Jesus. All right. New in 2025. A whole bunch of stuff new for us in 2025. But one of the things we're going to bring to you is our lane change, where we're going to take the show off the beaten path and then circle back. And no, it's not Mac and best bets, but it's similar to that. So I pose a question to you. This came out on it was from the Rams Reddit this week, guys, as we move into looking at the NFL side of the postseason. Again, we're going to take you right up to kickoff, Penn State, Notre Dame. We're going to get to that one last this week. So a little bit of a change for you, but I got to give credit to a guy on X, OG Spuds, for retweeting this from the Rams Reddit. Dumb question, but what happens if the Rams and Chargers both made it to the conference championship with home field advantage? And it got me thinking, well, catastrophically here, what if the Jets and Giants, and then I started laughing my ass off. What if the Jets and Giants made it to the conference championship game? Now, I did figure out that there is an answer to this, and I will tell you guys this, but Mac, I'll start with you. Rams and Chargers, and that is actually a possibility this season, thanks to the Jets and Giants for not participating in this conversation. Rams and Chargers could actually both host the conference championship games in the same building. What happens? And again, there is an answer to this, but I wanted to see what you guys thought.
Well, I think we talked about it'd be kind of interesting. I know they all have their separate locker rooms, so the locker room isn't an issue. So let's talk about who would actually get the advantage there. I think what I would like to see, we talked about this, they both be on the same sideline. How about that?
I'm telling you, the easiest way to solve
wouldn't that be fun? Like
alternating possessions for alternating games.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun.
That would be hilarious.
I don't know what else
you could have like the Niners and not this year. I mean, the Niners would be ushering people through the parking lot at that point, but you could have like the coolest thing in the world. TJ, how would you handle this? TJ Goodell, how would you handle this situation? We're making you commissioner with the Cold War kids.
I'd put the Chargers and whomever they're playing across the street at the Intuit Dome, and they would play an arena football version of the AFC Championship game. Just remember that the net's in play. And remember the uprights go from this to this. So good old Dicker the kicker is going to have to sticker in the way.
Hey, it's a family show here. Not really.
But that's what I would do.
So there is an actual answer to this. Roger Goodell, and when this first came up, it was when the Jets and Giants were sharing their stadium in Sopranoville in Jersey, that one game would be played on Sunday and the other one would be played on Monday. See, when we first talked about this, like there was nobody knew the answer, but Roger Goodell apparently said that a few years back that it would be a Sunday-Monday thing. Does that interest you? I still alternating possessions, alternating games, two teams on one sideline, two teams on the other sideline. What the hell could possibly go wrong?
Absolutely, that would be fun. Or you know what? Do like they do like the soccer tournaments. Just put the field the other way and just play them at the same time.
That would be freaking.
Or cut them in half, right? Cut the field in half.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely. I mean, how cool? Imagine that, like the two fields, and you just got two games going on the same field at the same time. Hell,
it was like when we all played street hockey when we were kids and stuff. And
right.
Like car. Lad McConkey is running a poster out and he's getting ready to go to the corner of the end zone, and he's like, he holds his hands up and he's like, ball, everything stops.
Yeah, quarterback's trying to get rid of the ball, throws it to the other field, guy catches it, runs, interception, who knows.
Mass chaos and hilarity. That
would be,
I like chaos.
We got to set up a bowl game like that. That would be fun as hell, wouldn't it? Like a bowl game, get 4 teams, 2 fields, 1 stadium, 4 teams, and just play 2 games at one time. We got to come up with a bowl name for that.
Hey, Snoop's got the gin and juice bowl down in Tucson now. So I mean, why can't we have the Mike Arana show bowl, and it's 2 bowls in one? Double your money, double your fun. The more things change, the more they stay the same, guys. Let's look at the NFL postseason picture, and where would we not rather start than in Houston in the first playoff game? The Los Angeles Chargers and the Houston Texans. This will be a CBS game to kick off our super wild card weekend. And the Texans are not getting a whole lot of love here, fellas. And I understand this year wasn't last year for them. They've had offensive line issues. They've had a lot of injuries here. But the Texans are getting no love. They are 3-point dogs at home to the Chargers. And when I look at this, I don't really see a distinct advantage here for either team. I'm really, really looking forward to this one, Mac.
Yeah, the Texans, I again been kind of really soured on them. It seems like every time I've watched them lately, you said that it's just one of those teams that they just kind of thrown up a dud. And I know part of it is that they've clinched, and part of it's just been the injuries and stuff. But you're right, they're not clicking the way they were last year. And for me, it comes down to Harbaugh and what he does. He just gets his teams ready, and I'm not surprised that the Chargers are favored in this game, and I think that's why. I just, we talked a lot about this, just having confidence in coaches, and I think when you get to this time of the year, sometimes having confidence in those coaches makes all the difference. And I have more confidence in the Chargers coaches and what they do than I do with Houston right now.
Interesting take, TJ. Initial thoughts.
I think Houston is just incredibly mediocre. They started 4-1, and since then they've been 6-6. They completely crapped the bed against the Lions after getting out to a big lead. They lost to the Titans at home. Like, who does that?
Nobody does that.
They're just they on a national stage with no other games going on. They put up 2 points against the Ravens. Like, we talk about recency bias a lot. Yeah, they kept it close against the Chiefs, but I mean, that's just the Chiefs' MO right now. They're just incredibly average. And I love CJ Stroud. I think he's a dynamic player. I like the acquisition of Joe Mixon. I thought he was perfect for that offense. But this team is incredibly mediocre right now. And I think that you see that when I think somebody put it online. It's a tradition like no other. It's 1:30 on Saturday. It's the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Everybody's soured on the Texans. I mean, and you guys are going to hammer me for this, but you're taking Nico Collins, who is one of the best up-and-coming receivers in the NFL, and the dude's out for a month. Okay, and a lot of stuff here. And again, we're doing the show a day earlier because of the college football playoff this week. So we've got another day to check injury reports here. But Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Quentin Johnston, all questionable. That sounds like 2 of the 3 of them are going to play. Again, something to keep an eye on here. But you took one of the biggest weapons away from C.J. Stroud. While the offensive line was already struggling to protect him this year, you take Nico Collins out of that, and you lose Stephon Diggs. And for them to be 10-7, and they played, as you mentioned, TJ, they played that game against the Lions. They had the lead. Mac, I don't see why we're so sour on the Texans and why we think this Chargers team with a bunch of nobodies on offense is really that much better than Houston.
I don't think they're that much better. I just think they're going to be a little bit better. And I mean, I think you want to throw the ugly flag. I think this game gets the ugly flag. I think this is going to be an ugly game. I mean, this is going to be like one of those weird scores, like 12-9 or something. I mean, that's what I kind of really see this game as. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I don't like either team's offense all that much. I really don't. I just don't see it. It just. And once the playoffs hit, the offenses take a tick down usually anyway. Defenses usually kind of pick it up a little bit. And you've got 2 teams that, aren't great offensively. UGLY in this one. You ain't got no alibi. You ugly, you ugly, you ugly.
If you get up and dance that, I swear to God, I'm coming through the camera right now. TJ, I mean, I look at this one and and you and I have had this conversation plenty of times. Home dogs, especially home dogs in the postseason, they bark to me, and this one's barking out loud.
No, sorry.
Screw both of you. I believe in you, D'Amico Ryans. I believe in you, CJ Stroud. This was the same position this team was in last year. Their offensive line was way better last year.
Mm-hmm.
Give me that. But
I will totally give you that.
I'm going with the Texans on the money line here. Give me a home dog. Hell yeah.
I normally agree with you here, but I actually think the Chargers are just way too dynamic for the Texans here.
Go ahead and
I think this is going to be I think this game is. And I'm no Charger guy. I hate watch the Chargers on a consistent basis. Rancho Penasquitos, show me your lightning bolt.
We'll start with you, Mac, since I already.
University Park.
We'll start with you, Mac. Make your pick.
Like you said, I think it's going to be ugly. I think the Chargers in this one.
I would venture to guess you're taking the under too, because I mean, you think this is 12-9 ugly.
Yeah, I do.
44 and a half.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Nope.
And then let's go to the over king. You're not buying the 12-9, are you?
36-13.
Oh my God. What the hell is wrong with both of you? Good Lord. Speaking of ugly.
Justin, Josh Allen Herbert is going to have the game of his career.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think so. I think this is the time that a Harbaugh team gets to the postseason. It doesn't get any farther forward. This Charger team has made the move that we thought they were going to make, but their lack of veteran talent, I should say, and that's probably the way I maybe this is why the Dobbins and Edwards thing, great additions for them, defensively. But here's the thing. The Chargers are one of the worst teams in the league at defending number one wide receivers. And I really think Nico Collins is going to have an insane game because he's hard enough to cover. And Mechie is still listed as a questionable guy for the Texans. But when I go skill position to skill position here, I think the Texans have the edge. I don't want the points. I'm taking the Texans on the money line. Way away from the two of you. Speaking of ugly, Mac, if you want to go to ugly games, I will transition us to an ugly game. And the first ever playoff game on Amazon Prime with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. And it's the third matchup this year between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. And Mac, you talk about two teams that are going in totally opposite directions right now. You couldn't draw this one up for that scenario better than this.
I have so much to say, Mike, TJ. I have so much to say.
We'll get to it. We're running out of time before kickoff here. I mean, come on.
This is definitely number 14's last game in Pittsburgh. I can tell you that. It's probably I'm not going to be surprised if it's the head coach's last game in Pittsburgh. I'm going to tell you.
There's a lot of smoke behind that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to make a fire joke right now, but yes, there's a ton of smoke behind it from a lot of prominent people in that area. It's not a good look right now. I said this and I'm gonna say it again. I think for the first time ever, Mike Tomlin's voice is not being heard. I think it's run its course. I don't. They're not responding the way they did. I don't know. You even heard Arthur Smith earlier this week. He was saying it sounded like he didn't want Russell Wilson to be the quarterback anymore. He was hinting
what the hell does Arthur Smith know about anything?
Well, but I'm just saying, Tomlin doesn't know anything. We're watching a game the other day. He can't figure out what's going on in offense. He has no control over his offense. Russell Wilson's, not running out of bounds. He's throwing the ball. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And I said at the beginning of the year, I picked the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. You want to talk about UGLY, your mama, and everything else. This game is over already. Baltimore's got this game wrapped up. I mean, it's that bad. You don't need no alibi. You ugly. This is it for Pittsburgh. It's over, done, finished. That's it.
TJ, I'm gonna let you take the run with this. The third time game, we've talked about this plenty of times. Everybody has. The third time you play a team, what happens? We remember the first time they played this year when Pittsburgh was on their roll, and that game started real quick with the Derrick Henry fumble right away, and that kind of really set the tone for the game here. I don't know if this is as much in the bag for Baltimore as everybody else thinks it is.
I think this is going to be one of those classic matchups where it's just going to be a slugfest. They usually are. I like the last time they met, I was very surprised that Baltimore dispatched them quite easily. Because usually we see those 12-9 or 16-13 games, which on the surface look like they're but they're actually good games when those two teams get together because it's a defensive fest, and I enjoy that once in a while. But the Steelers right now, I think, are just I don't know what's going on. Mac has the pulse on these guys a little bit better than they just look like they're lost. They just look like they're straight up lost. And
I was going to say, we always joke about the Steelers kicking field goals, TJ. They haven't even done that in the last couple of games. Mm-hmm. They can't even get their offense to a point where they can kick a field goal.
Oh yeah, it's really frustrating because I'm a Justin Fields guy, not really a Russ guy, but Russ gets healthy, they put him in. I was like, what the hell are you doing? But it was working, right? And now this offense couldn't hit the water if they fell off the pier. It's so frustrating. The defense has carried this team for a lot of the season, and now they're just falling apart from the inside out. I don't know, man. I think Pittsburgh has one more fight in them. I think this is the fight, but I think the Ravens are going to take it.
Are you taking it as far, TJ, as to say they couldn't hit the Allegheny if they fell out of the ketchup bottle? I don't know if there's any piers in Pittsburgh. I mean, I've been there a couple of times. I can't remember.
They couldn't count the three rivers that meet in the outfield. They'd only get to one.
Here's the thing, though, guys, I think we need to pay attention to here, and I think this is going to have an impact on the game. Everybody thinks this Ravens team, and when we get into best bets, I've got a couple of things that will support the Ravens being what a lot of people think is the team to beat in the postseason. I was talking to a friend of mine, and TJ, you know him well. He's a huge Bills fan the other day, and he flat told me that he doesn't think the Bills have the horses to compete with the Ravens. I mean, so there's a lot of people that think, and we know it, every 12 years, the Ravens win a Super Bowl, scoring 34 points with a 28-year-old quarterback. It's really friggin' weird how that's all working out here. But I think, and it looks like as of now here on Thursday that Zay Flowers is not going to play in this game. Kyle Hamilton returned to practice on Wednesday, and that's huge for the Ravens. But Zay Flowers has been so good for Baltimore. We know about Henry. We know about Andrews. We know about Lamar. But Zay Flowers has had a fantastic year. And again, as we sit here Thursday, he hasn't been able to practice. Who knows? And I think that's a bigger loss than a lot of people think here. That being said, you're going to Baltimore, and there is a thing about momentum. But if Pittsburgh does put out that fight and they get through this game, Pittsburgh's one of those teams I think is very dangerous going forward, especially if they can topple the Ravens to get there. I don't know how much I believe that they can. So if you're going to make me make a pick right now, I'm going to take the Steelers plus 8.5 in this game because of Zay Flowers. I think he's that important to the Ravens offense. I'm not saying I think Pittsburgh's going to win, but I'll take over a touchdown and take the Steelers. Mac?
Man, I hate picking against the Steelers, but I just don't see it. I don't think they'll score 8 points. That's kind of my problem. I just don't see this offense.
Every game's going to be like less than 20 points this weekend?
No, I don't. I think Baltimore could put 40 on the Steelers, quite honestly.
We've talked about 2 games, and you've got 3 teams scoring less than 2 touchdowns already. What is wrong with you?
The playoffs, baby. Digging in on some defense, baby. We're digging in. I'm really sour on. I mean, how much of the Steelers I watch. I'm watching them all the time. I don't see it. I just offensively, this team is inept right now. I mean, and what's going to change? Tell me what are they going to do in the next week that's going to change? I mean, Pickens couldn't catch the freaking ball at all the other night. I mean, he had 4 times the ball hit him right in the hands. He dropped every single one. I mean, he looked like a 2-year-old out there. And Wilson's, his decision making, it's not just this week. His last couple weeks, his decision making has been bad. 2 or 3 times he's not run out of bounds and he's tried to run down the field for just stupid plays. I hate to say it. They just are. The veterans on this Steelers team, especially on offense, are not playing like veterans. They're playing like rookies.
TJ, your final pick is yours.
This is a tough one because that spread is so much, and I think it's going to be a dogfight. I'm going to take. Do you want me to say it?
Do it.
Or do you want to keep it in my pocket?
Do it.
Taking the under.
What?
I'm taking the under.
I don't even know.
16-13.
I think we might have to end the show right there. I don't know how.
But your
must be the
point
smoke.
about Zay Flowers is your point about Zay Flowers is super important. And look, I'm on this text thread where we have this inside joke that Derrick Henry's been washed up the entire season. Yeah. And all he does is he keeps on putting up outstanding numbers. So he's the guy. He's the guy. How he goes, this game's going to go. But I think it's going to go under. If Baltimore blows out Pittsburgh, I think it's going to go under. But I think it's going to be close.
All right. Before we get to the Sunday games here, guys, let's look at, because Mac brought this up, and I think it's an interesting point because there is some steam behind this thing. We've got 6 NFL head coaching openings right now. The Jets, the Bears, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Saints, and there he is. Do we think, in general terms here, somebody might call the Steelers? Let's say they lose Saturday night. Somebody calls the Steelers and offers a trade for Mike Tomlin. Because I do think, and it's a catch-22. Tomlin's been there as long as he has. Harbaugh's been in Baltimore as long as he has. We know how that works. Eventually the message stops getting through to everybody. Out of all of the coaching openings, and I'll start with you, Mac, which one of those 6 I just mentioned to you is the most desirable and which one's the least desirable? And I'll give you a second to think about it. Because for me, I think it's Jacksonville. And when I talked on our channels at Mike Arana's show the other day about the disaster and how I don't believe Shad Khan knows what he's doing, how the hell Trent Baalke keeps surviving fired head coaches, the dude's got to have pictures of people in places and in uncomfortable situations that we wouldn't even believe. But I think with the new facility, for the practice facility, the new stadium, whether or not you like Trevor Lawrence or not, whatever. I think Jacksonville, to me, is the most desirable because it's a division that's not super loaded. You've got all those new changes. But can Shad Khan do what Jed York had to do in San Francisco and go, I'm just going to stand back here and I'm going to hire a real football guy, not Trent Baalke. I don't care. He doesn't even deserve to have his name pronounced right. He's a horrible general manager. He overpays for mid-level free agents. He drafts guys coming off ACLs, but somehow he gets to survive. And then the best part of it was in their press conference the other day, he gets asked a question about what are we going to do at this point? Hey, what if the new coach wants to come in and doesn't like the structure of the front office? Well, I would ask him how he would change it. And then he used some kind of stupid baby with a bathwater thing. I still do think Jacksonville was the most desirable situation. I think the Jets' job, least desirable. What do you think, Mac?
Well, for me, if I had to pick one, I think it would be the Patriots. You got yourself a franchise quarterback in Drake May. That's a start. And he's young. And here's what we know about the Patriots. They screwed up. And Kraft knows he screwed up. And I think he's the type of owner that's going to go and say, listen, I had a hand in this. I think he realizes he had a hand in screwing this whole thing up. And I think he's going to go out and he's going to try to fix it. I think for me, that one is really desirable because I really like what I saw to Drake May this year. The Patriots usually are not afraid to spend money. They're going to do the things that they need to do. I like that position. I think for me, I would pick the Patriots.
They better spend money. They got $131 million to spend. $131 million. I mean, you can rebuild an entire team. And to echo your point, Mac, like Diana Rossini put this out earlier this week. I think it was actually on Monday when all the firings started coming down, obviously outside of the Patriots one. But, that she spoke to a couple of different NFL general managers. And if Drake May was in this year's draft, according to them, Teach, I don't know where I don't want to know where Mac went because who knows what the hell he's doing.
I think he went to go get his Patriots hat.
Yeah, something like that. But the three general managers that she spoke to, if Drake May was in this year's draft, he'd be unquestionably the number one pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. So I do kind of agree to a certain extent with you, Mac, that Patriots job is desirable because of Drake May. It's not desirable because outside of Drake May and Christian Gonzalez, and I'm going to omit a couple of names here just off the fly here, but not intentionally, there's a lot of work to do in New England. And why the hell hasn't Mike Vrabel been given that job already?
Well, and just to go off of that, go ahead, Mac.
I was going to say, I agree. There's a lot of work, but you're talking about, like you said, one of the best young quarterbacks out there. And if you're going to be, if you're a new coach, that's what you want. You want to start with that type of quarterback. And again, you want to have an owner that's willing to work with you. And I think, like I said, I think Robert Kraft knows he screwed this up. He screwed it up bad since he knew Belichick was going to be done, and he's going to fix it. He's just that type of owner that he's going to fix this.
You would think so. You would hope so. What's the most desirable opening do you Teach?
Oh, do you really think there's a question?
Right eyes.
I think there is a question, but I know where you're going to go.
I think it's Jacksonville. I think if I had to rate I'd go Jacksonville. I would go New England. I would go New Orleans. I would go Chicago, and then it would be Vegas and the Jets would be tied for last. Because I think I think we talk about delusional fan bases. Those two at the bottom are just as delusional as anybody else. The fact that the Patriots have a lot of money to work with will allow whomever goes in there, hopefully, maybe Vrabel, I don't know, but it will allow whoever goes in there to have, yes, I have my quarterback, I have a couple of pieces. Now let's spend the money and get some more pieces. Let's do our draft magic and get some piece. Like, you got to have somebody who's going to be in there for the long haul with the Patriots. And that's why I think that's more desirable, because I don't think you're going to have the pressure to win next year or maybe even the year after that. I think they're 2 years away from being 2 years away, but that's a good thing because I think this thing can be built like it was. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, for 21 seasons, they were the model franchise. They don't just fall. You don't just lose that in, well, maybe you do, but we still have those memories, right? And I think if they just get the right guy in there, you can build this thing back up again. I'm no Patriots guy, but I think but Kraft's got to be in for the long haul.
Yeah. The only thing I think I would massively disagree with you on there is the Saints job to me is the least desirable one, because that team is in salary cap hell. Carr's already come out and said, I'm not doing you any favors here. That team is an absolute abject disaster right now. But both of you guys mentioned young quarterbacks, so let's go into the Sunday portion of the triple header. And I can't wait for Sunday because we get it started with one of the good young quarterbacks in Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos heading to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. And for my money, the MVP of the league, Josh Allen. This is going to be an interesting one here, guys, because Buffalo has seemed for the better part of this year like they are the team on a mission, and Josh Allen has been playing at an incredible clip. We've got a 47.5 point total on this one, about an 8.5 spread, depending on where you look. This looks like a mismatch on paper. It's going to be 29 degrees in Buffalo, And I get it. Buffalo's cold and Denver's cold are two completely different things. But I don't think the weather affects this Denver team because, as we always talk about in the playoffs, especially, defense travels. What kind of looks can Vance Joseph and the Broncos defense provide to Buffalo, and how can they try and slow down the Bills? On the flip side, how is Bo Nix going to handle his first playoff game and a road game, Mac? This one is the most intriguing matchup of the entire weekend to me.
Yeah, I mean, what a place, right, to have your first playoff game in Buffalo. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, that's as tough as they come. I mean, it really does, considering, the team, the weather, and everything else. I mean, just, again, a lot of factors there. I think I like both these teams. I love what the Broncos did this year. TJ, I think you've said this a couple of times, and they're just not there yet. It's a great step for them. This was a great step. They probably exceeded their expectations this year. I mean, I'm sure that they probably did, but I think this is you're playing in the big boys playground now. This Buffalo team. This is different. This may be just too big of a step for the Broncos right now.
I agree with you. I think this is one of those cases where the Broncos are like taking that step that they have to go through to become that winning, that championship football team. I think this is going to be a tough one for Bo Nix, especially because it's his first game. It's on the road. I just checked the weather. It's not supposed to snow on Sunday, but it's supposed to snow on Saturday. So we could have one of those kind of pseudo snow games. This is going to be very interesting because the Bills, they have to do this. They have to go in there and blow out the Broncos to show everybody that they're on this mission. The Broncos have absolutely zero to lose right here because they're not supposed to be here. And so that's a scary opponent to play if you're the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be a tough one for Bo Nix, though, because even with all those defensive losses that Buffalo had early in the season, this defense, other than the Rams game, is played pretty good. So I'm interested to see what they throw at Bo Nix to see if he can adapt to it.
You want to hear the craziest stat about this game? This blew my mind. I had to take a double take on this. Bo Nix actually threw for more yards this year than Josh Allen did. He threw for more touchdowns than Josh Allen did. He had 6 more interceptions than Josh Allen did. But I really got to give the Broncos a lot of credit because they're in hell because of the Russell Wilson contract, and between Vele and their whole cast of basically, I don't want to use the term no names because I think that's disrespectful to the Cortland Suttons and the guys across the board for the Broncos that have contributed this year. This is a really, really intriguing matchup. It's not the game I can't wait to see, but it's also intriguing to me because, Mac, both of these teams are coming in pretty healthy. When you look at the injury reports, we're not going to be missing a ton of big-time players in this game. They're at full strength for the most part, both teams.
Yeah, I mean, and I know what you're saying, and I don't think it's wrong to say that it's not so much a no-name team, but I mean, let's be honest. How many great stars do the Broncos have? I mean, they're not common household names. I agree with what you said on that.
How many offensive stars for Buffalo are household names though?
Well, exactly. I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot at all. But TJ, I think you're saying, the window for Buffalo is now. That window is open. If they don't go through that window, how many more seasons do they have with Josh Allen and everything else up there with that team? Because
I think they have a lot of – I get what you're saying. I think they have a lot of seasons left with Josh Allen. How many more seasons do they have left with Sean McDermott would be more my question if they don't get it done now. Because eventually, I exactly what you're saying, Mac. Like, if McDermott doesn't push them through – what else can you do at this point other than maybe change the voice?
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, this Buffalo team has been that close that many times. And at some point, something has to change. And like we always say, you can't fire the team, you fire the coach.
Well, you're exactly right, Mike. Has McDermott and this team reached its ceiling? I think this is an opportunity for Buffalo to show that they can go further than the AFC title game, that they can beat the Chiefs. They're going to have to do it. I mean, you make a great point. He might have to make the Super Bowl to save his job. And I don't think that's unreasonable expectations considering where this team has been the last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I love the weapons that Buffalo has. No disrespect to Denver. I like what they've done as well. So yeah, this is going to be one of those things. I think all the pressure's on the Bills. I think the Broncos have nothing, absolutely zero to lose here. Zero.
Yep. Put your money where your mouth is. I think I'd like to see this number get down a little bit lower. I think the crowd is they're probably already drunk in Buffalo as we sit here on Thursday afternoon, but they're going to be charged and ready for it. I'm very excited to watch this Broncos team going forward. You guys remember this. I said I thought Bo Nix would be the best quarterback over the long haul out of this draft. Now, Jaden Daniels is going to give me a run for my money here, but I mean, Bo Nix, and we forget, Bo Nix's age has a lot to do with that too, a lot of experience. That being said, I'm going to take the Bills. Minus the 8 is where I locked it. I don't feel comfortable with it. I'm intrigued by this, but I think I'm very excited to see what's to come of this Denver team after this season. Mac? TJ, you go ahead.
I like Buffalo in this.
Okay.
I like Buffalo in this game as well.
We lost you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be a tight game, though. I like Buffalo to win. I would take Denver in the points, though.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair place to go. Where are you at on this one, Teach?
I could see this being a one-possession game all the way to the end, and then Buffalo in like the last 5 minutes gets a touchdown and an interception and wins by 14. So I'm going to take Buffalo, give it up the points.
Let's go to the middle of the day game on Sunday in Philadelphia. We've got we'll talk about two teams that are relatively healthy. In the last game, we talked about Denver and Buffalo. These are two teams that are not necessarily in that spot. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts did get back on the practice field this week after the concussion. Jordan Love being very mum's the word to the reporters about that hand/elbow, whatever it actually is, which is the right way to play it here. This is my problem as we now look at the 3 NFC games. I hate this. I know it's inevitable with the format the way it is, but we're seeing 3 games we've already seen this year. This one, we started in Brazil, and the Packers are in Philly to take on the Eagles, about a 3.5 point. I've seen this thing as high as 5.5 points for Philadelphia, and that makes us wonder, how healthy is Jordan Love going into this game? How healthy is Kenny Pickett and Jalen Hurts going into this game? Now, I believe, because we still have a lot of time left, that Hurts is going to play, and I believe that Love's going to play. But I've said the same thing about Jordan Love all year. Can he make the throws when they matter? And now, can he make the throws when they matter without, I think, unquestionably, his number one target, TJ, in Christian Watson?
Oh, yeah. It's the pressure is on those other receivers, Reed and Dubs, to step it up here. And a lot of Kraft, too. I mean, this is a huge loss in a game that should they really have been in there to begin with? I mean, come on, man. That's a dangerous spot that they got put in. But it is what it is now, right? So you got to play the cards that are dealt to you. Yeah, that's going to be a tough spot for Love.
Man, I really thought Green Bay was going to be a little bit the last couple of weeks.
You told us to watch out for this Eagles team all year. Are you backing off of them?
No. I'm all in. Okay, I'm switching to the other side of the state of Pennsylvania for this one.
Here you go.
No.
The Keystone State switcheroo.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll talk about the other. There's another
the
Pennsylvania team I want to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah,
But
this
yeah,
shows
I
like
know,
the Keystone
I
Cops.
know, yeah. I listen. Philadelphia has just been a machine. This is going to be an easy first round matchup for the Eagles. I don't want to give away too much because I might have something to say about this a little bit later.
A little inkling to what's coming up on the Mike Aranda Show channels. I think one of the underlying things in this matchup, because I haven't heard anybody really talk about this angle of it, that Packers defense is why the Packers are in the position that they're at. When you go up and down their schedule, we're not talking about last week. Last week really meant absolutely nothing. But when you look at the Packers, look at who they've lost to this year: Philly, Minnesota, Detroit. And some would say that, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's why the Packers defense is not getting any credit going into this matchup, because of how shitty Minnesota looked last Sunday night at Detroit. Funny moment from after that game when Dan Campbell told Kevin O'Connell, "I'll see you in 2 weeks," but we'll get to them in a second here. I think the Packers defense is the reason that the Packers can stay in this game, especially with so many questions on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. Now, when these two teams played first week of the season, field conditions weren't great. Philly's defense wasn't where it's at. And I've said what I've said about Nick Sirianni. I don't trust him to make the right call in an intense situation. But I also have to give Nick Sirianni credit. Look at his record as a head coach. I mean, the dude's got the job done. This one's kind of intriguing to me as well. I just don't know if you're not going to give me, and you shouldn't, because it's how you play the game, Tej. I'll start with you on your pick here, and we'll circle back to Mac. If you're not going to tell me exactly how Jordan Love feels, and you're not going to, I get that. That's part of the game. Mm-hmm. In Philadelphia, that's where they eat you alive, man. I as much as I don't like either side of this game, I'm going to go with the Eagles at home here.
You got the old upper body and lower body injury.
Yeah. LTIR
injury reports this week. Yeah, it's kind of gross. But yeah, exactly. My guy to watch is Josh Jacobs. They brought him in here for a reason. He has run the ball like a mother. He has been more than advertised. He is exactly what this team needed. And so I expect a steady diet of Josh Jacobs here. I'm going to take the points with the Packers. I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to win, but I think it's going to stay close. So I'm going to take the 4.5.
You couldn't have timed that any better with a barking dog. Mac, what do you got?
I think the Philadelphia defense is really, really good. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to struggle. This Eagles defense is pretty good. I think they can make life miserable. I don't think this one will be all that close. I think Barkley's going to have a big day again, and Eagles roll in this one.
All right, let's go to my favorite game, my absolute favorite game. I cannot wait for this one. Another rematch from week 1 of all weeks. The Washington Commanders, my Washington Commanders, who I told you in August we're going to make the postseason, and here we are. Now what can they do with it? And the Tampa Bay Bucks, who yet again, and this is the amazing thing about the Bucks, man, is we forget how they're, and I'm not saying that it's the AFC North, the NFC North, most years the NFC West, insert division here. It's not like it's the toughest division to win. But when you do it 5 years in a row, you're pretty damn good at it. I can't wait to see this game, guys. The Commanders and the Bucks. First thoughts, first thing that came to mind when you saw this, Mac.
I love Baker Mayfield. That's what comes to my mind. I really do. I love watching him play. I mean, I think, let's just be honest. I mean, in a way, don't we all want Baker Mayfield to be a quarterback of our team? I mean, he just has that chip on his shoulder. He's not going to let anything happen. I mean, you see somebody get hurt. I mean, he's the first one in there. I mean, I love watching him play. And he doesn't seem to get frustrated or really upset. He makes a mistake. You just feel he's going to make up for it. I've really enjoyed watching this team throughout the course of this year, and I just love this game. That being said, This Washington team is good too. Man, you're right. This is a fun matchup. I need a coin for this one because I'm not, this is like a heartstring for me. It's kind of like I really, really want Tampa Bay to win, but my head's saying, man, oh man, this Washington team is just too darn good.
Two things real fast. Number one, if Brock Purdy wasn't the quarterback of my team, I would love to have Baker Mayfield. You
Absolutely.
two and your two teams' disaster situations at quarterback, of course you'd want Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Second, this game is very interesting to me because, as you mentioned, TJ, and you and I talked about this. Mac just said it. It's a coin flip game. Where right now that number's inside that happy number of 3 when we look at it from a betting standpoint here. I cannot wait. Hold on. Let me see if I can do it. I cannot wait for Sunday Night Football when we get the Collinsworth slide in this. Like this one, it's going to feel like it takes forever to me because both of these teams from week 1 entirely different. Obviously for the Bucs, it's not for a great reason because we're not going to get Chris Godwin in this game. But both of these teams, man, it just – I can see why they put this game on Sunday night as like, hey, here's game number 5 of the weekend. We're going to make sure when you go to bed Sunday night, man, we went, holy crap, the NFL is as good as it is because of this kind of stuff, Teach.
Well, I'm wondering if they put it in that spot because Jaden Daniels is the heir apparent to the Chris Collinsworth / Grimace Hands massage fest behind Patty Mahomes. I'm wondering if that's why this game is in there.
Here's a guy.
Look, I love when he just takes the ball and yeah. My pick to click here is Bucky Irving. I think him and Rachaad White are going to be the difference here. Because that defense for Washington, if they have a weakness, it's against the run. And so if the Buccaneers can open up holes for Irving, because Irving is big, and I don't think it's speaking out of school. Irving has basically become the starter over the course of the season. He was he had some huge runs last week, but as what Mac was saying, they got down in that game against the Saints, and it didn't seem like Bakey got rattled at all. He was a little bit on the edge, but he just kind of had a feeling that they were going to pull it out at the end, and then they did, which is exactly what you want to see from your quarterback. I want to see a huge game from Levante David. I want to see a huge game from Vita Vea. I want to see a huge game. I want to see the pirate ship going crazy. That's what I want to see.
4,500
Not saying that
yards for Bake. 4,500. And go ahead.
Washington is no slouch, by the way. I'm not taking anything away from them. Daniels has been more than what has been advertised. He has been incredible. Yeah, I just man, I watched that Bucs team and I'm just like, man, this is like, I wish I could like them.
How cool was that though last week? I mean, we all kind of shared this in the group message here. What the Bucs did, and some people didn't like it with their playoff opportunity on the line that they made sure Mike Evans tied Jerry Rice with the 1,000-yard mark. Obviously, we would have hoped he got 11 more yards because that would have helped us in the 5 for 500. But what a cool moment. And I got to give Todd Bowles credit before I say what I'm about to say about Todd Bowles. And then when he doubled down, when they asked him about it a couple days later in the press conference, he's like, yeah, I think Mike owes me $1 million right now. I mean, it's fair,
It's hella fair.
I wonder, and call me crazy here, but I was thinking about this last weekend in the situation laid out the way it was against the Saints, who are a dumpster fire. If they would have lost that game, and this sounds crazy with how they've ruled that division, is Todd Bowles safe? Do we think Todd Bowles is safe? Because I'm not necessarily sure. And we just talked about McDermott. We talked about Tomlin. And we know the coaching cycle and the hirings and firings. Are we sure Todd Bowles is safe here? if Tampa loses this game, Mac?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to think that what he did, I mean, that team was banged up for a good part of the year. And, they hung tough. I mean, I know you always have your power pyramid. If I take Tampa Bay and I'm kind of putting together, a power pyramid, I'm not going to put them at the top. They're going to be in those middle tiers. That's exactly what they are. They're a good team. They're a playoff team. Are they a Super Bowl contender? No, they're not. They're not that good. But I mean, they're a good team. But I think he's fine. I mean, he's that team definitely fits his personality.
Mac's not going to make a pick here because this is Sunday night football for Vegas, Mac. I'm going to take my Commanders from the beginning of the year pick, and especially since my team is ushering people through parking lots because they didn't make the postseason. I'm fully behind the Commanders bandwagon here. I'm going to take them plus 2.5. I hate that, but I'm going to take them plus 2.5. DJ.
I'm not taking the Commanders. I'm taking the Bay.
Hey,
put me on the pirate ship. I want to shoot the cannons off. I want to pillage the booty. I want Tampa Bay minus 2.5.
What are you drinking tonight? You want to pillage the booty? All right, one last game, and it gets us to Monday Night Football, where we may or may not see our friend Monday Night Mike, but the Minnesota Vikings, the Los Angeles Rams, in the scene of the most egregious missed face mask call at the end of a freaking game I've ever seen. Another rematch. This was a Thursday night game. And you know what, guys? We all talked about this in our group text. Minnesota didn't do themselves any favors. Sam Darnold definitely looked like he was seeing ghosts. Now, that being said, and I'll start this with you, Mac, I don't think that I'm putting any stock into what I saw last Sunday night with Minnesota, that's the Minnesota we're going to get in playoffs. Tough environment, tough road game, everything on the line. Minnesota moved the ball. They just couldn't get the damn ball in the end zone, which is obviously a key part of any American football, unless you ask Gary Danielson and some other people. But you have to score more points than the other team. Minnesota moved the ball on Detroit. They just couldn't punch it in, Max. So this is an interesting one. And I'm starting with you because I know how big you were on this Rams team at the beginning of the year. Have you gotten more on this Rams team since then or less?
Well, first, I have to ask TJ a question. More purple or more blue in that stadium on Sunday?
No, that's a dumb question.
One.
We know how it always is in that stadium.
I'm going to say more purple.
Here you go. I think, I do like the Rams, but not in this game. I think Minnesota, they've taken care of business against the teams they're supposed to have taken care of business this year, and I think it continues against the Rams. Yeah, they let's be honest, they've struggled against the better teams. I don't think I can put the Rams in that category of as a better team. I don't care that this is kind of on the road. It's going to be kind of at home. I think Minnesota wins this game. They're defensively, they're just too good. And like you said, Sam Darnold's had a really good year, and I think it's going to continue.
Deej, I'm not going to make a pick on this one because I don't want to step on Monday Night Mike's toes. So,
look, there's a reason why the Vikings are 14-3, and it's the like you said, Mike. It's the body of work and not just the one game against Detroit last week. This offense has been rejuvenated with Addison. Like the guy has been incredible. So now you have two, like 1A and 1B weapons on the outside. This is, and I'm waiting for the bottom to fall out on the Rams. I really am. I don't think that they're everything that they're advertised. I think it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think they were in a division that was once the Niners got all banged up and once the Cardinals started tanking a little bit, they kind of won it by default, in my opinion. So I'm not sold on the Rams at all. Even when I saw them against Buffalo, I'm like, this is a team that I don't think is going to go very far. I like the Vikings.
All right, let's talk about the big one at hand before we get to the wild and crazy ride that is Bets. We are closing in on kickoff of the Capital One Orange Bowl from the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, where there is no NFL games for the rest of the year because the Dolphins missed the postseason. I can't wait to watch this one, guys. Notre Dame, Penn State. This one's going to be incredible. You've got about an even spread here, depending on where you're looking, over under at 44.5. I said it when we started talking about the college football playoff that I really do believe in this Notre Dame team. A lot of people are going to say it's because I've been hating on Penn State. No, I'm going to give James Franklin all his damn flowers, including his comedy session from the media session the other day. He told Marcus Freeman he was jealous of his hairline. Usually what you see in a case of humor there is somebody's massively uncomfortable. And when you play this Notre Dame team and the way they like to beat the living crap out of you physically, that is an uncomfortable situation for people. Now we've got Abdul Carter, who sounds like he's going to play, but how healthy is he? Jeremiah Love sounds like he's going to play. How healthy is he? So when I look at this matchup, guys, that we're closing in on, and I can't wait for kickoff here, it comes down to quarterback play. And who do you trust more, Riley Leonard or Drew Aller? But that's a tough question, Mac, because they are not the same quarterback.
No, you know, this Notre Dame team, you look at what they've lost, and I'm not talking about games. I'm talking about what they've lost. I wrote down 2 starting offensive linemen, 2 edge rushers, their All-American cornerback, defensive tackle. All these guys were lost during the season. And look at the product they put out there. Mm-hmm. Listen, they played 2. I mean, the game against Indiana, and we talked about how good Indiana's offense was. Not a whole lot going on there. Okay. And then what did they do in their next game? Same thing. Defensively, they're shutting people down. This is a really good, I think, very underrated Notre Dame defense. Yeah, their depth is going to be tested a little bit in this game. I like the way Notre Dame is built. I really, truly do. I think this is a championship caliber team that Notre Dame has. And if they didn't have as many injuries as they did, I don't think this game would be half as close. With that being said, I love what Penn State's done the last couple of weeks. Okay. This is much like Ohio State kind of has turned a corner. I think Penn State's turned a corner as well. Well, I'm really worried about Carter not playing. I'm going to be honest, because I'm going to straight out say it. If he's not 100, now I'm going to say 100%. If he's not really healthy and he doesn't put his thumbprint on this game, Penn State doesn't have a chance.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier, TJ, in using Mac's point there. If you've got no Abdul Carter, it's real easy to try and find ways to lose Zane Durant in that Penn State defense here. Mm-hmm. And Notre Dame's rushing attack, which is something that you've talked about multiple times as we've gotten into this part of the season. Notre Dame's rushing attack, and yes, Jeremiah Love would be a huge loss for Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love not at 100% would be a huge setback for them. But that's not all that there is to take on with this Notre Dame rushing attack.
No, because Riley Leonard has been unreal. When he first made the decision to transfer to Notre Dame, I'm like, what are you doing? This is such a joke. No, he's the real deal. This rushing attack has been outstanding. And I really I think that Notre Dame's path to getting here is a little, it says more to me, with no disrespect to Penn State, it says more to me than what Penn State has had to do to get here, because the quality of the opponents that they have faced has said more to me than what Penn State has. Now, that being said, when Penn State played Boise, everybody in the bloody stadium knew who was going to get the ball for Boise State. And Penn State pretty much shut them down, which is a tribute to the defense. But once again, no Carter. I don't know. This is going to be I can't wait to watch this later on. This is going to be just a slugfest. I love it.
Yeah, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait long. We're about 20 minutes away, Mac.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, here's the thing with Notre Dame and defense. Looking at them against Penn State, they run everything through the numbers. Their running game is through the numbers. They don't. Here's what Penn State doesn't have. They don't have that one receiver that can bust things out to the outside and kind of loosen that defense up. Who's the best receiver that Penn State has? It's Tyler Warren. They're tight end. What routes that he runs? He runs everything in the middle. This is an offense that's run through the numbers, and I think that's going to be where Notre Dame is going to be able to shut them down. They don't have to worry about anything going out wide or deep. It's not in Penn State's DNA. I love what Penn State has done. I really truly do. I've especially the last couple of weeks. I've just been so impressed with Notre Dame. I just think that
me too.
Because of that kind of lack of offensive mobility, that's going to hurt Penn State.
I don't like where this is going already, but TJ, we'll start with you. Make your pick because we don't have a video across our channels to preview this one. This is it.
Golden Domers.
The cover
minus,
of 1.5.
Minus the points. Yep.
Matt.
I think this game is going to be close. I think it's going to be really, really tight. I think whichever team can get the running game going is going to be the team that's going to win this game.
Come on, Switzerland. Quit worrying about people in the Keystone State. Make your pick.
Notre Dame.
Yeah. Jesus. I can't go against Notre Dame at this point because when we started this whole process and we reset our picks as we're about to with the Super Bowl here, I said I thought Notre Dame was going to the title game. I thought they were going to play Oregon. Oregon's no longer with us for this current playoff, and I've got Notre Dame. And one of these, here's the coolest part about this. 1986, 1988, last national championships for these teams respectively. Believe Notre Dame was 88. I think Penn State was 86. I might have that twisted. I like Notre Dame. I love Marcus Freeman. It's not anything that I'm saying against James Franklin because I've given him his credit. They're there. They're on the doorstep. They're right there. But I trust the entirety of what Notre Dame does on both sides of the ball and on special teams. And I think in that Notre Dame secondary that TJ alluded to a couple weeks ago, I mean, they're that damn good. Now that we got that, TJ will come back here in a second.
Yeah.
Let's think about this before I take us down the crazy train, which is best bets. And are you in the track stance already? Because sometimes it looks like you're in the chair.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So Super Bowl predictions. Let's reset here. Now, at the beginning of the year, TJ had Detroit and Kansas City. Mm-hmm. You had Detroit and Baltimore. We don't need to talk about what I had because neither one of those teams are in the damn playoffs. If I made you make a pick right now, are you going to waver off of your prediction of Detroit and Baltimore? Because you got here with them. Where are you at?
All right. So I'm going to throw one slider at you. Okay, here's my slider. Here's what I would love to see.
Dumbass.
I would love to see a Buffalo. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'd love to see a Buffalo-Detroit Super Bowl. I think that would be amazing. I think that would be fun. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, just think these two organizations. I mean, wow, what a Super Bowl that would be. That's my slider. But no, I'm not going off of my picks. I'm Baltimore, Detroit. That's my Super Bowl pick.
TJ, you had Kansas City and Detroit. Would you like to change your prediction as we head to? Oh, he's saying, yeah,
not a chance.
Wait. Let me cut you off for 1 second here. How much joy did you get in the Broncos triple doink batted touchdown against Kansas City last week? Because I never actually asked you that.
Oh, it's fantastic. I enjoy anything bad that happens against Kansas. But then I had to put in perspective. It was basically the Chiefs JV team that they were playing. So, you can get it. It's like, okay, well, I went to the prom with a 2 when my catch the 10 over here went with the quarterback. So, it's one of those type of things. So no, I'm not.
You're
you know,
changing your pick.
I'm no Chiefs apologist, but I'm staying the same until the Chiefs lose. They are the team to beat.
Does Detroit get there though?
I don't see. I don't know who can beat them. I mean,
All right.
So you're not changing your pick. You just drug us through all that mud to not change your pick from the preseason.
No, I can't change my pick. I'm going to win this. I'm keeping the pick the same.
All right. Well, I can change my pick because those of you that are just now joining us, we appreciate you. At Mike Arana Show, tag a friend, tell a friend. At the beginning of the year, I picked the Bengals, which almost got to the playoffs. And we'll have a new defensive coordinator. And then I picked the 49ers, who almost got to the playoffs. And we'll have Robert Saleh. I mean, a new defensive coordinator next year. So I get to open up the door here as the worst of us in our preseason predictions. Should I go with the Commanders? Because I said that. No, I'm not doing it. It's an all-purple Super Bowl, boys, in New Orleans. Minnesota, Baltimore. I'm not changing my tune on the Vikings because they looked like crap last week. And I do believe that that everything Detroit's been through on the defensive side of the ball, I've seen this because my team, I'm a 49er fan. I've seen the injuries and then the big run to the title game, and then you drop an interception and you lose to the Rams and they go win a Super Bowl. So I'm going all purple. That's an easy word for you to say. In the Super Bowl, we wouldn't be finishing up a show here as we're going to kickoff over the Orange Bowl without our best bets. Now, I'm going to do this a little different because this turns into a disaster zone for some of us to follow a certain person here. If you're joining us for the first time in 2025, thank you for your New Year's resolution. We're going to start this time and go from right to left. TJ, best bet of the weekend. Or maybe it's a future for the NFL playoffs. Who knows?
My best bet, and you know how I love the points. Love the points. I am going to take on Sunday. I'm going to take the over in the Philadelphia game and the over in the Tampa Bay game and put those two bad boys together. Now, 50-51 is going to be a tough sled, especially on a Sunday night. But these are two teams that can totally do it. So that's what I'm doing.
Vegas Mac, will you please derail this train in only the way that you can? For the first time for new viewers in 2025. Oh, geez. Now he's got props too.
Absolutely. Love. I got no love for Green Bay. Green Bay is going to get. Wait a minute. Here I am. This is better. All right. No love for Green Bay. Listen, the Eagles. 10 of the last 13 games, they've held teams to under 20. Going to be under that 20 points. You can bet on that. And then one more thing. I'm taking Derrick Henry for an anytime, probably all the time, probably 7 times in the end zone, and anytime, all the time, every time, 7-time touchdown for Derrick Henry. And the Ravens
washed up
in Mike Tomlin's last game as the Steelers head coach.
Washed up.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
The first idiot that said that this year. We haven't heard from him since. So I went a little different route here, guys, because the futures they're interesting. And when you have we've mentioned this on this very show, I have the attention span of an ant before. So I was looking at some stuff, wanted to get into some stuff here. So pull out your pens and paper here, because I'm going to go almost Vegas Mac on this. Now, I'm not going to take you across country and through mountains instead of going over them like Vegas Mac does. But the following players have now been officially bet by me to be Super Bowl MVP. And you're going to laugh at a couple of these. But the odds on some of these guys are really, really good, depending on who you feel is going to get to the mountaintop. Bucky Irving, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman, Keon Coleman, Jordan Addison, and Khalil Shakir. Didn't bet a ton on them, But those are all guys that I could make a case for being a Super Bowl MVP. Also, as we get closer into college basketball season, further into it, I'm telling you now, and if you are watching this now, jump on this as fast as you can, because I did this about a month ago, and it's looking real damn good right now. That St. Bonaventure, the Bonnies, won the Atlantic 10 regular season championship. But my actual for sure best bet, because I love the value number on this, is for washed up, not our words, washed up Derrick Henry to be the MVP of the Super Bowl in New Orleans. If you haven't looked at it yet, go look it up. Look at what his number is. Everybody's bankroll is different. I'm not telling you what to bet, how much to bet. Throw $5 on it. It's pizza money. But Derrick Henry's numbers right now at the start of the playoffs to be the Super Bowl MVP, when you see it, you're going to go, oh my God, really? Because we know it's always quarterbacks get the highest dollar amounts and the most money and all that stuff, and they have the lowest odds. Where I saw Henry when I took this bet, it blew my freaking mind. So, yeah, I'm going to go that way, since, you know, everything I picked at the beginning of the year to go to the Super Bowl is done by the wayside. Do you have any final thoughts there, TJ, as we are literally minutes from kickoff of the Capital One Orange Bowl from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida?
I don't know what the Notre Dame fight song is, so I don't really have anything to say, but I hope Penn State gets their stadium ready for when Nevada rolls in there in August doesn't cover the 48.5 point spread.
Nevada's going there next year?
For opening week.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. Well,
Mac, you got anything to add? Anything, Mac?
I hope we get two.
I mean, since you've now been outlawed from the entire state of Pennsylvania.
We know we want it. Let's just be honest. We want it. Penn State, Ohio State. I know you'll pick against Penn State. You'll get all those Buckeye fans all in an uproar. Oh man, I can't wait for that show. Penn State, Ohio State. Oh my gosh, that will be.
I am telling you right now, I will make the first Moss guarantee of 2025. If Penn State and Ohio State are in the national championship game against each other, I will literally sit right here in the studio and live. I will watch the game with all of you. And if you guys care to join me during that, we will go live and I will watch that game while I'm stabbing my damn eyeballs out. Because here's what I want. I want to see Notre Dame, Ohio State. And you know what we're going to get? Penn State, Texas, just because I want to see Notre Dame, Ohio State. That's how it works all the time. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, loaded this show was, because there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. We'll be back with you next week. Stay tuned. Follow us at Mike Arana Show. We appreciate y'all for the first time in 2025. We're out.